We're going live.
3,
We are.
2.
Oh yeah. Is that cool?
Fuck no, we ain't going live.
Okay, well we're live.
Are we? On what?
YouTube.
Oh, nobody.
Nobody's looking at it.
Welcome into another episode of Fully Unscripted. I'm Todd Lanter. He's Cash Daniel, who is biting his tongue, and Jordan Barber sits in to recap the Kentucky basketball season, preview the NFL draft, and apparently I missed the memo that I was supposed to, wear camo today. I would have dug out my best woodsman gear.
I would doubt you have any
Yeah, you
camo.
probably
Can
haven't
we
worn it
can we get
since-
this out of the way?
What?
Take your hat off.
My hair
The luscious locks are
gone.
gone. Well, they're not gone. That's a good flow, honestly.
I mean, it's a good flow, but I mean, it's not like anything crazy. Like I feel 10 pounds lighter in the head, and it just feels weird not having all the hair down here anymore. So it was time though. It was time. I was telling Brandon I had a knot that I was dealing with for like probably an hour, just ripping lumps and clunks of hair out of my head.
Is that what the trigger was?
I was just like,
"All right,
dude, I'm
it's
done.
time."
I'm done with this shit. Like, let's cut it. And the thing about hair is, good thing it can regrow.
Mm.
So
That's
here we
right.
are.
Be thankful you can grow hair. I hear my dad complain every time I get a haircut.
Mhm.
He's like, I wish I could grow hair.
So does
like
that mean you're going bald one day?
No, it's the opposite actually, because your hair comes from your mother's father.
Mother's. All right, well, I'm good then.
Hopefully, the knock on wood, cancer doesn't come from my mother's father, because that was not a good
What a
situation.
dark-
Talk about
I didn't know it.
I'm
I'm
talking
just-
about me
I'm-
being tight-lipped. Jesus
I
Christ,
I wasn't trying to be dark. I'm just saying, like, that's a scary situation to have to deal with. So,
Today, Junior.
well, I love him very much. So,
I don't know about you, but I think Bo's hair still looks very luscious.
thank you, appreciate that. He
He's got
doesn't
the
think
white
so.
flow.
He does. He's like a big
back.
silver fox, dude.
Oh,
He
yeah.
does. He used to wear like black pinstripe suits with the black slicked back hair, and he drove a Towns car. Looked like he was
Straight outta Godfather.
straight out
He
of
looked like
Godfather.
Al
Yeah.
Pacino running around.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Do I sound good, Brandon? You picking me up good?
Yeah, not good, but loud enough maybe.
Oh wow! I didn't know we were attacking each other on today's podcast.
After the way I walked into this room,
Yeah, there was some.
you
Hostility.
didn't know we were
You
attacking
agreed
each
it was
other.
Some hostility.
Y'all just upped my anxiety like 1,000%.
Well, Todd, you are.
Well, maybe you should
professionally
fix that.
That's true. I did the best I could.
Every time.
I
But
plan
sometimes
on
your
being
best,
late.
sometimes your best isn't good enough. That's what I learned.
That's true. That's true. Watching Brandon attempt to swing this camera back and forth is just gonna give me. I want you all to just spend the entire time, just as quickly as you can, tossing back to one
Make you
another.
work for it today, Brandon.
Oh, that's amazing.
Look at that. This is why he gets paid.
All right, before we give everybody a headache, let's get this out of the way. Did the Cats underperform this year or what?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Before we get into that, though, I do think that there's something important that we need to address
Okay.
because these are 20-year-old kids, 18 to 21, generally
Mhm.
year old kids. To put the entire burden of what? When was the last time you say you felt satisfied with the Kentucky basketball season?
I mean, I that's tough to answer.
Probably your last year is what I would say.
I mean, that was extremely unsatisfying.
unsatisfying.
But I know what you mean.
But
by
it's
that.
hard to go
Yeah.
38 and 1.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that.
Maybe the
but
2017 year
with 17,
Fox, Monk,
De'Aaron,
and
yeah,
them, so
yeah, that team was. I think. I mean, they had potential to go a little further, but they very well. I mean, they did a fantastic job. They put together one hell of a resume.
So I'd say that's what 6 years at minimum,
Mhm.
maybe 9 or 7. I'm not good at math. Years of pent up frustration that the biggest fan base in all of college basketball has, right?
Mm-hmm.
To put so much pressure on these young guys, like I said, 6 years of pent up frustration for a fan base. It's easy on the outside to look at that and be like, oh, yeah, you should play better. You guys should toughen up and just listen. You don't understand until you are proximate to it, until you're nearby, how overwhelming and overbearing it is. So I just want to quickly say that and thank these guys from the past, like 3 or so years that they've not lived up to expectations. They've absolutely underperformed, but it's a hell of a job, man.
Yep.
It's a difficult thing to do, to deal with so much pressure from an entire state. This whole state unites around one program. So, I just want to get that out of the way because I think they deserve some compassion in that regard.
I mean, I'm glad you make it a point to say that, because that's something I've always tried to, take into consideration and account when I'm, giving my thoughts. Like I'm kind of forced into not forced. I get to talk about basketball, for a living with the radio and things. So the pregame and postgame show, I'm trying to watch the way that I say things, even though I'm supposed to be speculative and I'm supposed to give my opinion and I'm supposed to point out the mistakes and the flaws and things.
And you have to.
You have to, but there's a graceful way to do it, and in a way
is.
that doesn't, throw guys under the bus. And
I felt like we saw a lot of the worst. It's the best fan base in the world. We love them. They're so passionate. I'm one of them. But I think it's easy to see the worst side of it as the years continue to pile up, and all this pressure continues to pile up on these young men. So, I just want to thank them for going out there and giving it all, because they really did.
Yeah.
They had their backs against the wall, and when they had to perform, they did.
Yeah, I think that's part of the biggest, hurdle really, is that this fan base is such a, what have you done for me lately? And it's true with football too. Obviously, Cash has been through the worst of it. I mean, he was, a guy that worked for years to earn a starting spot, and then, is thrust into there, and you lose a game you're not supposed to, or you come up short in a hard fought battle. And, it's real easy for armchair quarterbacks to come out of the woodwork and have an opinion. And that's something that both you and I have experienced, and been on teams that have experienced it, and had teammates that have experienced it even heavier than we have in some cases. And, I look at a guy like, I'm trying to have a moment here, Brandon, get it together. And I look at guys like, Severe this year is a good example. Yeah. Like
definitely what I had in mind.
My true answer, and like, I don't, mind to say this, Severe is a phenomenal point guard. He's extremely talented. He's level-headed for the most part. He's a point guard. He's going to turn the ball over sometimes. He's going to make the wrong decision sometimes. He's also, like you said, 18 to 21 years old playing college basketball. They're not perfect. The best of the professionals are not perfect. But it's scrutinized so heavily, and it's under such a big microscope because he's the point guard at Kentucky, that, when he's benched, because it might be a better lineup decision for the assets that he has around him, or because of the matchup that we're facing that coming week, everybody wants to make it such a big deal. Do I think that that's what played into the latter part of the season when he was, a little bit more reserved to get back out there after an injury? Absolutely, I do. He's not going to go out there and expose himself to that when, he's out there fighting tooth and nail every day. He's an undersized point guard that's a little bit less athletic and can't shoot as well as guys that they're going to compare him to in the past. That's a tough position to be in, no matter who you are. And I think he handled it, as well as anyone could be expected to. The worst part is now, you mentioned the last 7 years to, up till more recently, the last 3 years, social media plays a bigger part now than it ever has. Mm-hmm. Guys are so accessible to both the good and bad news and what people are saying about them. It's awful. It's tough. And, even in a position like this, where we're an outward facing platform, whether it's social media or, the podcast or the radio or whatever, you can say something that offends people. You can, underperform or play bad and offend people, and people can let you get an earful from, fake accounts and all kinds of silly shit that it's a lot. It's a lot to try to compartmentalize and go out and perform your best. And this fan base, especially, I can't speak, needs to recognize that. The more weight and scrutiny that you put them under, that it's unwarranted, and it's not necessary it's not going to help us play better. Yeah. So it's a good thing that people have a voice and can use social media and their opinions and things to market themselves and all of that. But understand that, again, they're young kids that are going to make mistakes, and I promise they want to win more than you do, right? and it makes it a tough situation for a team that had so much potential and that fought as hard as they did. With that said, we lost a lot of games we shouldn't have lost.
Yeah.
We made some crucial errors in situations that resulted in losses or slumps, and there's not much we can do about winning a game or getting over the hump when you go 1 for 21 from a field at that point. But it's just a tough ask. It's a tough ask.
I think I just wanted to get that first part out of the way, because you got to be critical. You got to analyze things from a unbiased, objective point of view. But it's just it's so important to preface that with, like, I got a lot of love for these guys, and I will never understand what it feels like to be in that position. Mm-hmm. Cash can speak to that as well. Like, it's just different when you've got people that know nothing about you except your on-field production or your on-court production, acting like they are entitled to, like, psychoanalyze you in any way or, like, interpret what you're doing. And it's just it's a double-bladed sword.
I'll take it one step further, and then I want to toss it to Cash, because he's obviously got stuff to say about this too. But I think somewhere during COVID, we just decided that it was our business as a public group to know everyone's health issues. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no reason why we should know what that surgery was that Severe had, right? Yeah. That's not our business. And HIPAA, it's truly a HIPAA violation unless he releases it himself or talks or, chooses to talk about it. And I guess through the whole vaccination thing with COVID, it kind of went by the wayside, and everybody just kind of, decided everything's public knowledge all of a sudden. But Severe doesn't owe Joe Schmo, UK fan, an answer as to why he doesn't feel healthy to play or whatever. It could have been, mental. I mean, I was on a team with guys that had some things that they needed to get straight before they were able to go out and perform, and their health should always come first. But Cash?
Well, it's good to hear your all's side of things, especially as a true outside fan looking in on things. And I'm not, I've been on this podcast ever since it's been going. I've told this 1,000 times. I'm not a basketball guru. I'm not anything outside of football and what I know. And I'm never going to speak on anything that I truly don't understand, because that just makes me look like a jackass.
A lot of people could do themselves good by
so I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, we should have done this, we should have ran this offense, should have played this guy, we should have done that guy, because, be quite honest with you, and I didn't pay that close attention to it. I just knew that Kentucky basketball is Kentucky basketball. And that's how I've always grown up looking at it, is that I understand that it's a huge program with a lot of added pressure to be able to perform at that level, and for that particular program, university, I understand that. But from a fan's perspective and from a player's perspective, like when shit's going sideways and it's not going as you expect it to, at the end of the day, we can sit here and talk about how, yes, they are 18 to 21-year-old kids. They are. And you could say the same thing across all of sports, not just basketball. And when you're at that kind of premier blue chip program, like a Kentucky, like a UCLA, like a, all of Duke, North Carolina, I can go on for days. When you put that into a football perspective, we never had that. We were kind of building our reputation as to get to where we are now. I'm not sitting here saying we're a blue chip SEC football program by any means, because we've not been to an SEC championship yet. We've not won an SEC championship. The biggest bowl game we've been to is the Citrus Bowl. Not knocking anything that we've done. We've had 2 10-win seasons. I think Coach Stoops has saved the idea and brand of Kentucky football, because everybody knows that in years past, it's been a complete joke ever since Tim Couch and Woodyard and all those guys were here. But there is a level of expectation for you to go out and perform no matter what's going on. Like, you're getting school paid for. to go out there and do a job. You're getting school paid for and now making name off your image and likeness and all that stuff to go out and perform, which I can sense, since I never had that, could add another sense of pressure to go out and perform.
Mm.
And Todd was talking about social media and everything. Like I sit here and talk about it before, and I actually got the privilege to go and talk back with some UK athletes a couple weeks ago about social media and things like that. Abby Steiner was there. Leah Edmond was there. Some well-known Kentucky athletes have come to the programs through the years. And, we're talking about, the negative effects of social media versus the positive effects and how you can use it to your advantage. And I've always told this with people, like, social media in itself, like, it's becoming such a prominence on everybody's daily life to where it almost seems like it is real life, but it's not a real place. 90% of these people, actually 99% of these people that are on there killing, severe, or anybody that's involved in athletics, do not have the balls to come up and tell you face to face what they're thinking, because they know they can hide behind a keyboard. They know they can hide behind a screen. They can make fake accounts, all this different stuff to where it never gets traced back to them. And I actually applaud the people that actually do use their real names and stuff. And they go out and say, I applaud that, actually, because at least you're still hiding behind a screen, but at least you're not hiding behind an identity, And I'm not going to lie. And this is what I told them. I'm like, you work so hard to go out there and be at the level that you're at. Countless hours in the weight room, countless hours in the film room, countless hours at practice, going over and over and over again on stuff that you just can't get it wrong. And to Todd's point, nobody wants to win more than those players do. Now, I know you hear sometimes a cliche coach speech of, sometimes, we want to win sometimes more than you guys do. And I'm not a coach or anything. I can't speak to that, but I can promise you that if I'm out there to play, I'm out there to win. And I would imagine that's almost every athlete's mindset anytime they step on the field or court, no matter what you do. Because at the end of the day, if you're not doing that, you're just wasting your time, and you're wasting people's time to actually believe in you. But you work so hard to where you do make that play. Like, for example, like a guy makes a big dunk, or, a big 3-point shot, or for a football player, a big tackle, a big catch, a big throw. Like, social media allows you to initially go and see that instantly, like right at the tip of your fingers. Like, you want to see that play. But as soon as you search your name to look for that one play, you're going to find 10 to 15 to 20 tweets of stuff that, of one mistake you made out there on that field, and everybody's going to let you know about it. Now, with our program in particular, with Kentucky Athletics, I believe the reason why people, and they can call it passion, they can call it whatever you want to call it, but the reason why I think it's so, I'm trying to find a better word for it here, it's so imminent for those people, is that we are this state's program. There's no professional team. I don't even count Louisville, and that's no disrespect to them. I'm just saying, like, as a whole state, like, Kentucky Athletics is what people look forward to every single time that whatever season's in, they're looking forward to it. Basketball, football, whatever it may be.
You go out in the mountains, they're wearing blue.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, when I grew up, like, you're going to church and people are wearing Kentucky button-downs to church, and, there's stickers everywhere. Everybody's got UK hats on, license plates, like everything. And I understand how big of a deal it is. But at the same time, you just can't allow yourself to have outside noise. And I know it's cliche to hear, and people say it all the time, but, like, you're there to do a job, plain and simple. You're there to do a job. You're an All-American in high school in this. They paid for your college to come there and perform to do a job. And if you allow outside noise or external factors affect you from doing your job, there is a sense of self-responsibility that needs to come from that. Now, that's me. I know I'm probably going to take a lot of heat for that with all the 14 people that watch this. But, I'm guilty of it, I mean, I let outside. I was too worried about because my whole life, my thing was about like I'm always like wanting to prove people wrong. You know, like my whole life I've had people say I couldn't do this, couldn't do that, and I finally did it. And it's more like a big right there to you more than anything. And at the end of the day, like you have to do it for you, and you have to do it for your teammates. You have to do it for your program, not what anybody else is going to say. Having said that, do I know the expectation of a Kentucky basketball program? Yeah, I do. It's to win SEC championships. It's to make Final Fours. It's to win national championships. And like I said, I'm not going to sit here and speak on anything that I don't know for sure of. From your all's perspective, it sounds like it was a disappointing season. But at the same time, they did lose a lot of games that they were supposed to win, but they won a lot of games that they weren't supposed to win.
Mhm.
And it showed that once those guys became one cohesive unit,
Mhm.
they could play with anybody in the country. Now, when they ran to K-State, and that little point guard, I don't know where in the hell he came from.
Brooklyn.
You know what's crazy? You know what's even crazier? He had a stint in Cordia.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
He came to Cordia and played for a little bit.
7th grade.
Oh, I knew
think.
that. Yeah, I knew that. I forgot about
Brooklyn, New York to Perry County,
that. See,
Kentucky.
I'm gonna change a little direction a little bit here. So I actually, this is another toxic thing about social media, right? I was trying to give this kid his flowers when he went up to Madison Square Garden in the Elite Eight, or I guess it was the Sweet 16 game. And who did they beat? Sweet 16?
Michigan State.
Yeah,
Was it Michigan State? Yeah, that's right. So,
Kid, look, I got Lear won the game by himself.
yeah. And so there
It was
was
awesome
a
to watch.
minute and a half left.
The court presence is incredible. with
It's
him.
nuts. It's nuts. There's a minute and a half left in that game. He hit the go-ahead bucket to give him 18 points, 18 rebounds with a minute and a half left.
Assists.
Assist.
I'm sorry, yeah. 18
Broke
That
the
one
record.
dude pulling down
Broke-
18.
yeah,
Broke the
boards.
record.
Yeah, sorry. 18 points, 18 assists. And I tweeted like something like sucks that Marquise Noel crumbled under the pressure in his hometown at Madison Square Garden. Like clearly joking about the
Yeah.
fact that he shut up all the haters. Like all these UK fans that were like, how did we let that little kid do this and that? And like the BS that got twisted with Cal's comments in the post game about him being a little kid, whatever. Point is, called him undersized. He wasn't highly recruited, wasn't going to shine under the bright lights. And he goes out and does that against all the bullshit chatter in his ears, all the stuff we're talking about, goes out and does that. And I was meaning to give him his flowers and like props. Like he shut every single one of y'all up and went out in the brightest lights at the Mecca of college basketball and laid it on probably the best active coach as
Yeah.
far as tenure.
I mean, he sat down two of the best active
Literally,
coaches back
yeah,
to back.
yeah, back to back. And I got like so many tweets in response saying like, "Oh, ice cold take," and da 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 da. I was like, "Look at the timestamp.
Yeah.
I just said that. Like, the game's over. He just put him to
The
bed.
situational awareness from these
That's
folks
just
on Twitter
oblivious."
is-
But my point is, like, even that, like, you want to choose hate. Like, you couldn't look at that tweet and be like, he probably meant because he played so well.
Yeah.
You want to be like, oh, you were wrong. You
Gotcha.
were wrong. He got like all this gotcha shit. And I'm just like, where did we go wrong as a society that's the response? Like, even the ice cold takes people that's got like, 500,000 followers responded and said, clearly sarcasm, like clearly satirical here. But I'm blown away that like that as a society is where our head goes.
Mhm.
And I mean, I guess it was my mistake for thinking that people would not understand that was satirical, but I don't know. It was, I'm just thinking
You
like,
overestimated the senses of humor of perpetually.
That's why I
online
keep all
people.
my like personal opinions on stuff. Like literally anytime I tweet now, it's to promote something or it's to just go ahead and say a statement that's already been known,
yeah, but
'Cause,
that's
like,
the problem.
because I'm
right?
so sick and tired of people that are like, you don't know shit. Nobody knows shit. I don't know shit.
about
Anything. Anything.
That's about if.
that's what I was getting.
Literally.
At. He's
Literally. Don't know anything. Don't know shit about fuck. But at the end of the day, like, I understand. Like I'm going back to like I know it plays an important role in what you do as far as like brands and all this different stuff. I think that's honestly where it went wrong. Is because it used to be just like fun stuff.
Mhm.
Like take me back to the fucking MySpace days, dude,
Mhm.
and fucking MSN Messenger. Like take me back to those days because nobody
AOL.
AOL because nobody gave a
What was
fuck
your
back then.
AIM name?
I can't remember.
Something stupid.
No,
know it
I
was
can't.
something
I can't. It
just-
was like Tiger Football something. I can't.
You're
remember.
right. That's not.
I'd
stupid.
pay an ungodly amount of money to see his MySpace profile.
Dude,
back in
I
the
What was
did-
your song? I know.
Oh,
you-
dude, I did. I was about to say I jailbroke that son of a bitch, and I had like whatever season it was. Like if it was football season, I have the Packers. Like I had the Packers background, like the falling G coming
Yeah.
down, and then when it was baseball season, I had the Cleveland Indians and like the Chief Wahoo was coming down.
Was it Tom? Was Tom the guy?
Tom from MySpace,
Yeah.
and I can't remember. Like I switched songs like every week because then like that's when Jeezy was big. That's when Wayne was. Wayne's always going to be big, but that's when like I started listening to Wayne, and I think I had a couple of Vince Sevenfold songs in there too. But like, yeah, I think it's come to a point now. And going back to like what you were saying, I think it had something to do with the 3 year or year and a half, 2 years. Everybody was locked up inside their house because they had nothing else to do. And they were just like, oh, I can just go on here and, talk my shit because people forgot that you can still get punched in the mouth in this society. And when we came back out of it, you saw a lot of fights in the stands.
Yeah.
You saw a lot of pent up aggression coming out of that.
Yeah. Tom's sitting on a yacht somewhere with a cool 600 mil for that. He needs to make a resurgence, come back. Anyway, okay, let's get off that topic. I didn't mean to go into a depressing.
Let's pretend
state
we
here,
know shit about Kentucky basketball.
but yeah, I'm bottom line, kids are being recruited to come here and win basketball games.
Yeah.
Well, they got
And
the recruiting class to do it next year, apparently.
and that's what I'm saying. Like I don't want to have this conversation again in October and be like, oh,
Well,
I don't know, they're not where.
But
they
what
should
happens?
be.
But what happens if you do have that conversation?
Well, that's my point. We're gonna have people are gonna immediately like, oh, 40, First, don't put that on them. Don't put that on them. Let them come out and go to work every day and try to make a professional career out of this the way that you're trying to make a professional career out of your job every day. You get up every day. You don't need somebody in your ear every day you wake up and pour your coffee back. I bet you're not gonna sell shit today, bro. I bet you ain't gonna sell shit. You suck. You know how many you've dropped. You've been told no 95 times in a row. Why is anybody going to tell you yes? You don't need to go. Like, nobody wants that. Just back off. Let them do their thing. They're going to work every day trying to get a win.
Yeah. Well, there
Period.
it goes again. Like, that's the burden of playing for this program when it's at its weakest state that it's been since the Billy G years. You know what I mean? Like, these dudes now have, like, yeah, it felt good to win a tournament game. It felt good. It didn't feel good to watch that entire bracket just part like the Red Sea
Mhm.
and know that we're sitting at
Yeah,
home.
that sucks. That part.
I don't think anybody expected the bracket to be
No, it's the most wicked that it's
like.
ever
I'd
been this
never
year.
like if you'd have told me looking at this bracket right here in this Final Four, I would have been like, "You're out of your fucking mind."
UConn's the only one that makes even a little bit of sense.
Yeah, I never.
UConn by a billion, by the way.
The last time I watched Miami play basketball was actually at UK, and hey, at the end of the day, it's all about the U.
You throwing up the U right now, Cash?
I mean, football wise, I mean, you can't like I was like 30 for 30s back in when I was in high school growing up. Big, like
Yeah.
I love those things, and the ones on the U was awesome. Like we even Lamar Thomas was one of our was our wide receivers coach for a couple years when I was at UK, and I just always thought it was so cool that like he was part of like that bad boy era,
Yeah.
for them. But like you got FAU in there. I was really hoping, I told myself that if K-State got past Michigan State, I thought they were going to win it, just because of how great they played on the floor together. And that little point guard, literally, like even the move where he was like fake arguing with the coach, like calling a play, and like sent that guy from the baseline through that lob. I was like, that's fucking genius. Like that's unbelievable. But
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
So that said, like, got all that out the way, all the, the formalities of, we're about to talk about how disappointing it was. Why why do you feel Kentucky has reached this state where it's crazy to say this, but I'm expecting to lose games in December now. I'm expecting to not
mean
make
with-
it out of the first weekend.
You mean in general of like as a whole of Kentucky basketball, or you mean this coming season?
Well, like at this point, you know, Cal built up a lot of equity with me, and rightfully so, with a lot, like even the people who still defend him, like at the end of the day, you have an argument.
Yeah.
Because this man's run from 2010 to 2017 was like prolific.
Yeah.
It was incredible. It was so fun to watch. With that said, you're running out of equity, dude.
Yeah.
To be honest, like the thing that makes Kentucky so special and the thing that allows people to be so passionate about this program are the expectations here. I want to win games in December, first of all. Did we win any important games in December, Todd?
No.
No, that's a negative. I want to win games in December. I want to feel like I can compete with the other best teams in the country from the very start. I want to win SEC championships. I miss that, dude. Kentucky used to own that tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was basically like you would just sell out Nashville and go have a good time, watch your team just smash the competition, right? I miss that. I want to make it out of the first weekend. The thing is, this Kansas State game, there was some weird stuff that went down. We played a pretty good game. Antonio Reeves isn't going to shoot 1 for 15 or whatever it was. He's not going to shoot that low
Ever
of a
again.
percentage,
Like-
probably ever again in his
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
Play that game 100 times, he's going to shoot better 80% of those games, right? So that happened, but it didn't happen in a vacuum.
Mhm.
Because I can think of a lot of excuses for why that happened. The officiating was questionable. Oh Lord, man, Kansas State. Saying this out loud doesn't even feel real. They scored on only layups their first half.
No rim protection.
Only layups. Yeah, we'll get into that. Their first half was nothing but layups, dude. That's like blasphemous. Like if I was a coach of a team and the other team only scored on layups,
Mhm.
oh, I mean, you got to force them to. So does Kentucky do a better job at stopping them from scoring the easiest points on the entire court in a different game? Probably. Does the officiating change? Probably. Does Antonio shoot better? Yeah, most likely. The thing is that didn't happen in a vacuum. That happened with last year where we lost to St. Peter's as a 2 seed.
Mhm.
That happened with the year before, 9 and 16. This stuff is building up. And to sit here and say, oh, the tournament's crazy, teams get upset. Yeah, that's true. Teams get upset. Not this one.
Mhm.
Not this often. Not
Mhm.
this frequently.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is a trend is developing, and we can get into why it's developing or what could change, what will not change, what may change. Moral of the story is it's here. And to pretend that I'm seeing, because I say this because I'm seeing a lot of like cope on Twitter,
Mhm.
on social media, where people are like, tournament's random. Look at this tournament. There's no 1 seed. Clearly, the landscape of college basketball has shifted. I don't buy that at all. I don't buy that at all. NIL allows the stronger, bigger brands. I'd like to see what you all think about this. I think the NIL allows bigger brands to stay rich. It's like the rich get richer, right?
Mhm.
Because you have the money, you have the bankroll to afford these players to bring them in. So I don't buy any of this. The landscape has shifted. Kentucky fans need to change their expectations, lower what you desire out of your team season. I don't buy that at all. I think there are objective reasons why we're underperforming. And I think they can be addressed. I don't think it's like the Blue Buds aren't as powerful anymore. I don't buy that. Just because of this one tournament, I don't buy that one bit.
Mhm.
No, but you can also look at the transfer portal and what it's allowed for smaller college programs to get out of bigger programs. I mean, you look at the kid from Providence
Mhm.
that came from UK. I think Kansas State, they had a bunch of transfers coming in
Keontae
from
Johnson.
yeah, they're coming in from bigger programs.
So
Like-
glad he played well.
Yeah.
Keontae.
It's like
Keontae was the kid from Florida that
collapsed on the
collapsed
court.
with the heart issue after the.
Really,
He was the one on the receiving end of the no-look lob that you were talking about, where he was arguing
Yeah.
with the
Damn.
coach.
He's the one that. Yeah. So he
makes it even awesomer.
They told him he couldn't play that rest of that year at Florida. He transferred to K-State and went into the tournament as their leading scorer, and that's who caught that lob.
That's a big dude, man.
Yeah, that he wasn't supposed to when he
He looks like an
collapsed.
outside. Honestly, God, he looks like an outside linebacker.
Yeah.
out
Big
there
dude.
playing.
He's 6'6" and he's built like that.
Yeah,
So, but to your point, the transfer portal is I don't think you should be able to transfer within conference and play the next year. I think if you transfer, you should have to leave the conference, just because
Okay.
I think, I don't know, there's got to be some regulation, right? I mean, I don't know that that's the right answer. I just think that would be an easy cop out to be like, okay, well, you can transfer and play immediately, but get out of the conference then,
Okay.
right?
Well, I mean, you could also put it into like there's professional like contracts and stuff when these guys sign. Like I know, for example, there was one guy for I want to say Cleveland for the Browns, and in his contract clause or like in his trade clause, like yeah, we'll trade you, but we're not trading you within the league. Like we're not trading
Yeah.
you within our
I
conference.
think that's acceptable. I mean,
So.
to an extent, but with that said, NIL on a tangent real quick, teams like St. John's next year, probably one of the best coaches ever in the game in Rick Pitino that just went there. His best friend sold vitamin water for $4 billion. He's tied in. Rick Pitino's a fantastic businessman, tied into Wall Street. He's a block away, and they got
St. John's
Madison
is
Square,
hungry, too.
and they got an insane. Oh, his buddy that sold vitamin water is a St. John's alum too.
Mm.
So substantial wealth, even outside of him, not only in the region but in alumni from St. John's. Madison Square Garden's essentially their home court. They're going to build a locker room in Madison Square Garden. They're going to probably turn their other facility into the full practice facility and office space for the staff, and you got the best recruiting region on the planet for basketball in the Northeast. So somebody like that's going to, I mean, I'd probably take odds on them for the Final Four right now, just because of the way that NIL has changed the game. So combine that with the transfer portal, you can step in and change a program overnight like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
A point I want to kind of toss to you here is we've had some guys leave here, right, that maybe weren't utilized in a way that they're being utilized now once they were transferred. And I know you're a big advocate for, if you're prepping to play professional basketball, give me your point on that, because I don't want to step on your toes. I want you to word it the way you'd like to.
So you're saying
present it.
Why
like Johnny
do
Juzang.
why do I think that players who have NBA aspirations should be given NBA roles in college?
Yes.
Should be put in a formula that is proven to succeed at the next level, because it's been shown that it's easily replicable.
Mm-hmm.
Easily. You can't get NBA athletes to go to like a Providence on every occasion. You know what I mean? A Kansas State. You're not going to get them every year. When you do get them, it's pretty easy to replicate a spread offense where your primary method of scoring is the two most efficient shots in basketball, at the rim or at the three-point line, right? That's totally shifted the landscape of basketball in its entirety. I'm not saying you have to embrace that. Kevin Durant, best player in the world for my money. I love Jokic. I love Giannis. KD's my – if I needed to win one game, I'm picking him. Why? He's the best mid-range shooter probably of all time, right? Like, you can't stop him. There is still value in that, but that doesn't need to be the offense that you are hunting as you approach a game plan.
See, what's weird for me is, and this isn't necessarily directed at the staff either. I mean this from a generic understanding of the game. 10 years ago, when I was at UK, our goal defensively was to force teams to take tough twos. Like, we ran shooters off the line, off the 3-point line, made them put the ball on the ground, and
funnel drivers into Willie and Carl,
and make them go into the trees. So it forced offenses, can't shoot a three, we're closing out, making you dribble, making you run, put it on the floor. You ain't coming in the trees more than a couple times before you get your shit beat into the 10th row. 10th row too, not the 3rd row, 10th row. We were playing volleyball out there. So they were stuck in this, all right, take tough twos, take contested tough twos.
Yeah.
And we whooped people by letting them think, oh, well, we're getting open mid-range shots. Good. We'll play those odds every time.
Yeah. And if by some miracle they manage to beat you that way, shake their hand, send them on their way.
Exactly.
Hey, you played a hell of a game.
And very few people beat us at our game. I mean, obviously Wisconsin's the easy example to point to. They beat us at our game. In fact, Georgia almost did it Contavious Caldwell Pope.
Yeah.
But they knew what they were doing. They knew where to attack us. But most people didn't accidentally fall into these mid-range jump shots and all of a sudden look up at the scoreboard and have a lead. It just, the odds don't work that way. The numbers don't work that way. But when you look at a shot chart from this year, the teams that have been eliminated and the teams that have advanced somewhere around the Sweet 16 mark, we had a lot of clusters in that, 15-foot range. And a lot of it was intentionally sought after. And, again, there is a place for that.
Mm-hmm.
But the offense that I'm used to running, that Cal's, everybody says that, like, I'm kind of sick of hearing the Cal's stubborn thing, because he has adapted, he has changed, but those shots that we were kind of seeking after just weren't falling, right? And that's different than the way that our teams approach things. We were looking for much different, like the dribble drive is not even a thing anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
When John Wall was here, it was a dribble drive offense, but we're not using really any of the same kind of sets like that we were. And again, the landscape of college basketball might have changed, but I don't know why that philosophy was applied differently now, or why we were seeking it other than personnel. So if you look at somebody like, Oscar, right? Did we start using Oscar in the mid-range because he doesn't have as much of an arsenal around the basket playing over one of his shoulders? Is that what it was?
I would argue that's possibly the worst way to use him.
I'm asking, is that why? Like, is that why we started looking for mid-range shots?
Maybe.
Or Jacob. I mean, Jacob was the way that Jacob played in the Bahamas, I thought could be extremely effective this season.
Yeah. Because there is a place for late shot clock, offense just broke down, go get me a bucket type of guys.
Yeah. Well,
there's
yeah,
100% a place for that. You need those guys on your team.
100%.
You just don't need to. It's like trying to force a circle into a square hole. Like you're just.
We would like to have seen, or as we're
and
used
the
to
other
seeing.
thing, man, this Kentucky team, especially when his rotation was cut short, I kind of love their offense sometimes.
Mhm.
When he would run the lineups with Queso at the point, Oscar at the 5.
Did you just say queso?
Yeah.
Are you hungry?
Yeah, I might be. I'm seeing Chipotle. Like he's got this Chipotle cup, and it's running through my mind. But yeah, so Kaysen at the point, Oscar at the 5, and then in the middle, any mix of Frederick, Livingston, Toppin, Reeves, right?
Mhm.
That's like the core of your rotation. When he stuck to that rotation, man, especially like in the Tennessee wins, the Texas A&M win was amazing. God, I loved how we played against Texas A&M. Do you remember that game?
At Texas A&M.
No, here. They came here.
Oh
We
yeah,
didn't go
yeah,
there.
I
We
remember.
beat
Yeah,
them,
yeah,
and they
yeah.
ended up being the second best team in the SEC record-wise, and we beat them pretty like handedly.
Yeah.
And it was just Texas A&M came in with a game plan. They were like, okay, we are gonna shrink the court on Kentucky. We're gonna nothing at the rim, right? And I mean, it was like, dude, it was like I was seeing I don't know, the best movie you've ever seen for the first time in your life. Like, it was an amazing feeling just watching Cal consistently attack the perimeter
Mhm.
with open Reeves jump shots, open Wallace jump shots. Texas A&M was giving them to us, and he took them.
Mhm.
The man can coach. The man still has his fastball.
Of course,
I
he
don't care
can
what
coach.
anyone says.
No, he can definitely. He's got his fastball and he can
Yeah,
coach.
because I saw it plenty of times this year, but I also saw so many times where, particularly with the rim protection,
That's where I was getting to.
where Kentucky is just struggling because he's not the best offensive coach. He doesn't recruit the best, like most dynamic offensive players. What he recruits is athletes who can defend, right? Who can get you out of your game and stop you from getting easy buckets.
Mhm.
We didn't have that this year. The rim protection was abysmal, to say
Mhm.
the least. So when I'm constantly watching my team try to outscore someone who's getting layups and layups and layups, that's the easiest way to get 2 points on the court.
Mhm.
And that's where I feel the roster construction has really just weirdly like slipped away. And it could just be an aberration because of Oscar's physical limitations. I love Oscar. He's one of the most enjoyable players that I've ever watched here. He has physical limitations specifically on defense. So, like you said, with next year, we've got a legit 7-footer who can. Oscar's like 6'8" on his best day, to be honest with you. He's not like a physical freak of nature. He's just strong and hard nosed and just has a fighting spirit. Commend him for that. Love him for that. But you would think Cal has the tools next year where you may not win the prettiest way, outscoring your team, outscoring the opponent, but you have 7-footers, you have guards who can defend. Let's develop an identity around your strengths, which I think has always been defense. I think he's an amazing defensive coach.
Yeah.
And he's great at recruiting great defenders.
Yeah, I mean, to say he's lost, anybody that says he's lost his edge or whatever, I don't agree with that at all. I think that the way that the game is adapting is they're catching up to the way that he's always thought about it, right? He's the way he's always approached it. And we just have to be able to do like you just said, the roster construction, I think, is the biggest thing. And next year, I really like the guys he's bringing in. And that's not to fault anybody from this year's team, but like you just said, if you can't protect the rim, you can't win. Yeah. And that's nothing against any of those guys.
Because he had NBA talent this year.
Yeah.
Jacob Toppin is an NBA player.
Yeah. And the way that guys attacked, Oscar in pick and roll, and that's good coaching on the other end. That's them saying, okay, well, let's bring him out there then, or if they leave him, let him sink back under the basket, fine, go attack the rim.
Even his help side defense just wasn't really there. Like, I don't know, it's probably mostly physical. It could be also that he just is a little slower processing things on the defensive end, but teams we were Charmin soft at the rim, just to put it bluntly. Like, they were just getting the easiest looks possible. Who knows what happens if you cut those out with someone who can, we like to talk about like spacing the floor horizontally. There's also like a vertical element to spacing, where if you have someone like Aaron Bradshaw, who is a legit 7-footer, who knows like 38 plus inch vertical, his vertical spacing changes the way that an offense on the other side can approach you, because all of a sudden they're having to worry about these different angles that just,
it's what we just said about that 2015 team.
Yeah.
That go into the trees.
Yeah.
But regardless, I don't think that like we'll be having the same conversation next year. And this is the first time I've said that. Every other year when people have said wait till next year, I'm like, no, that's not an appropriate out. You're giving yourself an out. Cop out, like you said earlier. Next year, I think, is a little bit different. We're going to get a chance to see, him at his best, and with the assets around him that are going to, that fit into his approach to the game. And I'm excited to see it. So Anyway, I know you're bored out of your mind over here, so we're gonna bring it back to football. We got the NFL draft coming up in what, a month, 2 months? When is
No,
it?
it's in April.
It's in April.
It's in the end
Month.
of at the,
Yeah.
end, at the end of April.
Yeah, a month.
Yep. Yeah, we got that coming up. There's a lot of guys, I've listened to Ian Rappaport, Tom Palacero, a bunch of guys talking. We had what actually was really cool about Kentucky's Pro Day this year was like we had NFL Network at Kentucky's Pro Day, which is a testament to what Stoops and what the guys over there are building. And I know they were over there mainly for Will Levis, but for those guys to be looked at, like Chris Rodriguez and DeAndre Square and Jaquez Jones and all those guys over there. Really, really, really big moment for the program. And
Were you there at Pro Day?
No, I didn't go this year. But it was a great turnout. It looked like there was a lot of people there. I mean, you had owners, not just scouts, not just head coaches. You had owners at UK's Pro Day, which
Will was talking to the Panthers owner, right?
Yeah.
That's
And he
cool,
had,
man.
and from what I saw, I watched all this Pro Day on NFL Network and SEC Network. He had a really good Pro Day.
That boy can sling it.
He can absolutely sling it. Dude's got a cannon of an arm. Seeing Jordan Palmer there working with him was really cool. His pinpoint accuracy on mid-range throws were there. The velocity coming out of his arm, even on, routes out of the backfield, to Chris or anybody, I see why people are really high on him. Just watching him play throughout these last couple of years here. Obviously, this year he was limited physically with some of the injuries and things he was going through with the turf toe and his shoulders and things like that. So we didn't get to see him use his feet as much as we did his junior year. But everybody knows that athleticism is there, and they understand that he needed time to heal to be able to come out and perform the way he's used to performing. So it's been great, to see, the expectation level of Kentucky football and the players that come through their rise each and every single year. I mean, you had Josh get drafted at number 7 after my junior year, Mike Edwards, Benny, so many guys that got drafted and been sent to the combine and things like that. It's been great, but there's been a lot of trade deadline talks, not deadlines, but a lot of trade talks going around the league. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers said a couple weeks ago that he intends to play for the New York Jets.
Brutal for the boy.
It's
Brutal for the program.
It is. It's sad to see number 12 go, but I think they're at that point now to where, like, it's, and the way that he described it, was really, he wasn't throwing anybody on the bus. He wasn't bashing anybody. He just feels like it's time for, people to move on. I mean, he drafted Jordan Love in the first round. So that kind of sent him a message of like, oh, I've seen this before, considering they drafted me in the first round, when Favre, was still calling the shots back there. And I know that they're still working out some stuff as what involves in that trade. Necessarily, I don't think anybody has an upper hand on anybody,
Yeah,
really.
it's a weird, like, no leverage situation.
Yeah, because at first everybody was sitting there thinking, oh, the Packers have no leverage. Well, they have just as amount of leverage as New York does.
Yeah.
I mean, they've obviously freed up some cap space, trading Elijah Moore to Cleveland.
Lazard as well.
Lazard bringing him in. And so I just think I think it's going to come down to draft time, because you see a lot of people make moves in the draft, especially with a guy like Lamar Jackson, who has obviously went out and stated that he requested a trade from the Baltimore Ravens on March 2nd. This came out, I think, 2 days ago.
Where does he end up?
I don't know. That's a really weird question, because like you got a lot of teams that are actually wanting to draft a quarterback, but if you got a guy like Lamar Jackson on the market, I look at a team like Indianapolis. I mean, you got Philadelphia's coordinator from last year coming in, obviously had Jalen Hurts up there this year, and you saw what they were able to do offensively. I don't know. A lot of people are sitting there saying that, the Colts could take Will. That's just what I love about the NFL and, like, draft time. It's like you got guys in free agency, you got guys wanting to get out of their city and get out of their team and go to different elsewhere. And you also got young guys in the draft that you could literally build your program around. So do you take a guy like Lamar Jackson, who's been a proven veteran in the NFL and has broken numerous records as a quarterback, or do you take a rookie quarterback and try to build him up from there? Because at the end of the day, let's say they do draft Will, and no disrespect to the guys that have in that quarterback room right now, but I think he could go in there and beat out a Gardner Minshew. And I believe, is it Nick Foles that is on there? I think maybe Nick Foles. I could be wrong.
I think it's still Nick Foles.
Yeah, I think it is
But
still
what
Nick
about
Foles.
the quarterback from Texas. What's his name?
Texas.
That's on there now. He came in for Matt.
Oh,
Ryan.
Elliger.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam
Is he
Elliger.
still there?
I think I don't know if he's there or not. But the thing about it is, though, when you look at, what I think Will would bring to that table is, the guy's athletic. He can make moves with his feet outside the pocket when he needs to. But at the same time, he's still got that cannon of an arm,
And he's so accurate.
He is.
Really is accurate. I know he got a lot of criticism for like the processing stuff. And, I don't know enough about football to speak to that, but like, it's clear he can put the ball exactly where he wants it. He just has to make the right decision to get it there.
Absolutely. But the thing about it is, too, like, he got a lot of, heat for holding on to the ball too long this year. But at the same time, going back to his physical limitations this year, he wasn't allowed to run, or not allowed, but he couldn't run as much as he should. So he's sitting there having to pat the ball and look for his check down and different things like that. And teams knew that going in. So they're sending an extra blitzer off the edge. They're sending a guy up the middle because they know at the end of the day, he's going to have to sit there in the pocket. So it's going to be really cool to see how it all turns out. I'm really looking forward to seeing where Lamar ends up. I don't see him coming back as a Raven. I know with the non-exclusive franchise tag, he is allowed to shop with other teams and see what his value is on the market outside of Baltimore. And to be quite honest with you, I think that Baltimore kind of used that as like, okay, well, you think you're worth this much amount of money. Let's go see what the rest of the league feels like. And I think at this point now, dude, like, I respect guys that go out there and negotiate their own deals. I mean, look at Laramie Tunsil. I mean, Laramie Tunsil, he broke his own record for being the highest paid left tackle in NFL. And he did that with a guy like his name is Saint Omni. And now Saint Omni is not a registered NFL agent. He's more like a advisor.
Yeah, just a guy.
Yeah, to him. He's this guy that nobody's ever seen before. Nobody ever knows. So it's like, this guy like a fictional movie character, and they're just like using this as leverage. But you're seeing a lot of moves going around. You're seeing guys going different places. Mike Edwards, he signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. Lonnie Johnson, he just signed with the Saints. There's a lot of moving parts in NFL right now, especially this time. And they just had the owners and coaches meetings down in Arizona this week, which was actually kind of, I think Lamar knew that coming in because he sent that tweet out as Harbaugh was getting interviewed down there, like by the media and stuff. So it kind of, hit him from the side and kind of put him on the spot.
If Bob Kraft and Bill Belichick were watching, I just want to say,
well, they already said today they did come out and say that they will not be pursuing Lamar Jackson.
Did they really?
They did.
Oh,
even though
that's
Mighty Meek Mill came to Robert Kraft and said, "Hey, Lamar wants to be in New England."
Can you imagine Lamar in those red Pats alternates, dude?
He looks sweet.
He would look so
He would look dirty.
Oh, I'm crying now.
He would, but
I can't believe it.
I
I was driving over here. I was like, dude, Lamar on the Pats. That would be killer, bro.
that would be nuts. That would be crazy. But you've still got a guy in Mac Jones who you drafted in the first round, a couple years ago, and has proven to win you games. Obviously, when he went down with that injury, you had Bailey Zappi come in and perform the way he did, which kind of put Mac on the back burner because, I mean, if you got a guy coming in there and is burning it up for 4 straight games, and your previous 2 to 3 games you've lost, it's kind of hard to sit there and say, oh, what's best for the team is to, keep this momentum going.
Last time that happened in New England, we
saw the
what
birth
transpired
of the GOAT.
from there.
That's it. But going back to Lamar's situation, I could see maybe the Colts making a deal with Lamar and then taking someone like Will Anderson, coming off the edge from Alabama and really solidifying their defense because their defense was dogs last year. And
they have been for the past 5 years.
Absolutely. And then you add a guy like Will Anderson out there who's been an absolute dog at Alabama for the last 2 years, man. He's a dynamic player, and he's a guy that can change games for you. So it's going to be weird to see how it all ends out. I think as the order of it goes, I can see C.J. Stroud probably being in North Carolina with the Panthers. I could see maybe Bryce Young going after him, and I think Will's going to be the third quarterback taken off the board, and then Anthony Richardson down below him. But it's going to be weird to see how it all works out, but I'm excited for it. So a lot of NFL news coming out. Like I said, I'll be keeping up with Rap Sheet and Palacero and Pat McAfee and all those dudes because it's the best NFL news you can get around here right now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a basketball guy, but dude, nothing beats the NFL.
No,
It seriously is so fun to watch. Just
I love
everything
I
about
love.
it.
I mean, obviously, I love the sport and being a fan, but the business side is so interesting to me too.
Mhm.
It's just it's different than every other sport in a lot of different ways.
I guess it's probably because of the roster size. Like
Yeah, roster
means
size,
that
the
so many different.
Salary
guaranteed money,
cap
salary
and-
caps. It's a whole different business model. It's crazy.
But what was weird though is seeing a lot of guys this year signing no more than 3 years. That was a lot of it. So, what you got to go?
So,
Hard out.
Well, you got to go. You
Hard
got to
out,
hard out.
guys.
Yeah, we'll
Hard
sit
out.
here. We'll sit here and wait another hour for him to show up and start whenever he wants. But whenever we want to go, he's got some place to go to sip. Sip on tea and eat crumpets and
Sit in
with
his
his pinkies
skinny
out and his
jeans.
skinny jeans and everything else. So yeah, I'll tell you what. We'll just end it right here so Todd can, go about
Are
his
you
next
okay?
endeavor. I'm great. I'm just waiting for turkey season to get here so I can get the fuck away from all
did
you
you
guys.
donate your locks to like Locks of Love? Or
It wasn't
something?
long enough.
Really?
No.
Did you try?
I tried. It wasn't
How
long
long is it
enough.
supposed to be?
10 inches.
Hmm.
Yep. And I was at, I think, 7.
Uh-huh.
So
Anyone who says that not long enough, you're wrong.
you're damn wrong. You're damn wrong. But yeah,
This is coming off the rails again.
fully unscripted. What can we say?
That's right. That's right.
But yeah,
Jordan,
that's-
thanks for coming, man.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks for
Thank you,
having me,
brother.
bro. Felt
I'll-
good shaking the rust off.
I always appreciate your insight, bud. It's been a while since we've gotten to do it, but we'll do it again, especially leading up to the NFL draft. We haven't quite decided how this quote unquote off season, no pun intended, is going to go. Just because we've been doing episodes once a week, but
Give
he's
the
got to
people
go.
what they want, Cash.
But Cash has to go holler at
Give
some
them a couple
birds.
chirps. It's that time of year, baby.
Make them
Swear to
gobble,
God.
son. 12 gauge make your fucking head rock.
That's a good way to end it. All right. We're looking forward to another fantastic season of Kentucky basketball and football. Well, a better than the past year's season of basketball and probably football too. But looking forward to what the guys do, UK guys do in the draft at the end of April, and then the NBA draft later this summer. Stay safe, be a friend, tell a friend, and give those their flowers while they're around. A lot of hate going on in this world today, especially with what happened in Nashville and things. So put your arms around somebody. What, Cash? Don't put your arms around Cash. How about a wave?
Just post it up in the back.
Hey, how you doing? What is that? Yeah. Just thanks for let me know what a hard drive is.
All right, dude.
Deuces. Oh, these aren't that skinny, are they? Look at my saggy ass.